Hello, nerds and nerdettes, and the OPB family. It's your fellow nerd once again doing a guest review on Y the Last Man Compendium 1. A super exciting experience once again, which I would love to say thank you to Organic Price Books once again as well. But we can go ahead and jump into the review itself. So this book does have a cover price of $59.99 or $60. If you do want to get that cheaper, obviously use Organic Price Books. That's probably your best bet. As far as the page count goes, it's 728 pages, making up roughly about 31 issues, give or take. A decently sized book. Most compendiums, especially soft covers, seem to go around 50, 60 bucks, 9 times out of 10. You do get covers in between the issues, which is a problem that a lot of compendiums sometimes have, are the issues will be collected in the back. But here you do get virgin covers with no trade dress in between each issues, which is a nice touch, something I really do enjoy. But this is a great story, so we can jump into the overhead shots and take a look at not only the art, but also talk a little bit about the story. And here we are, OPB family, Y the Last Man Compendium, Volume 1. As I said, this is a soft cover, very beautiful spine on this volume. Taking a look at the back, we do have the covers of the issues that are collected, and obviously, as I said, a cover price of $59.99 down below, and of course a brief synopsis. So if you do want to kind of check this out, you can always read the back if you find it in the wild. As I said already, soft cover, so for those of you that are collecting strictly hardcover or soft covers, just to keep that in mind. But we can go ahead and jump into the book here. Obviously we have the creators here, Brian K. Vaughan, the writer. You do have Pia Guerrera on most of the illustrating duties, but you do have Paul Chadwick and Goran Parlo. If I'm butchering any of those, I'm sorry, as some sub-in artist. Then obviously table of contents here, which is very much a much needed thing for some of these collected editions. And then obviously we get into issue 1. You get the complete cover without trade dress, completely virgin, so you really get to see that art shine. Some of us are more fans of trade dress kind of covers, but being able to see that art in its entirety is definitely awesome. So getting into the first issue, a brief synopsis of the story overall. So Y the Last Man essentially covers a plague that does cause all mammals that are living or even embryos that carry the Y chromosome, so essentially males, to all die off, other than our main character Yorick and his pet monkey Ampersand, which is very interesting synopsis already. Obviously we get a brief introduction to the character, but you get very much thrusted into this. I wouldn't even call it a post-apocalyptic kind of story, because society is very much still existent but struggling. I think it's much more of a kind of an exploration of the effects that could possibly happen if obviously one of the two human species or genders or whatever you'd want to call it essentially just disappear. How that is going to strain not only society as a whole, but also the mentality of the population as a whole as well. Obviously, lots of mothers losing their sons, wives losing their husbands, etc., etc. So you have a lot of the female population that is handling it well, but you also have some that are not handling it too well. And because of that, you do get a lot of kind of factions, a split side of, or split versions of how to handle things, and you end up as a reader kind of finding where you stand in this world and kind of what mentality post-apocalypse you would, or post-plague rather, I don't want to say it was an apocalypse, post-plague that you would kind of align with, which is a very interesting thing. And you really get to see Yorick kind of come into not only drama but conflict, partnerships with people from these factions, from these groups, and it is very interesting to explore that as a reader. You definitely get to see the rise and fall of the society, of the population as a whole, which obviously is something I, as a reader, am a huge fan of. I am a sucker for kind of post-apocalyptic stories, even though, as I said, that's not exactly what this is. I like to call it a post-apocalyptic struggle, if anything, because as I've kind of went into, things are still kind of happening. It's just, it's not happening as smoothly as they once did, but very good stuff, guys. This is one of the titles that Brian K. Vaughan is probably known best for, other than Saga, and it's DC Black Label, so you're going to get all of the violence and mature themes that you would expect to be explored in a world with such a dark setting. And obviously, Brian K. Vaughan being such an amazing storyteller, and the art throughout this volume being absolutely amazing as well, if you can't tell, somewhat being cartoony, somewhat reminiscent of Charlie Adlard in a way, but obviously colors, almost kind of carrying a little bit of a vibe that The Walking Dead carried, but just to not the that high of a level of apocalyptic, where obviously zombies are biting people. But very good stuff here. I cannot recommend it enough. It is worth the read. Obviously, it has a season of a TV show that I believe was on FX. I'm not 100% sure if that's continuing or canceled. I'm much more of a comic book reader than a TV show watcher, but definitely worth the read. A lot of fun, and one that you can kind of put your thinking cap on when diving in because of the themes that are explored. And I always love thought-provoking titles and just titles that kind of make you think of the what if. But that does wrap up the volume, so we can head back to the table for some closing thoughts before we get out of here. And welcome back, nerds and OPB family, from the overhead shots for a little bit of closure on the book itself. This is a wonderful series. This and Saga are probably the two titles that Brian K. Vaughan are probably most known for as far as his writing, and the titles that really made a big splash when he released it. Really good stuff. If you are a fan of much more grounded, somewhat realistic stories, this is a great route to go as far as titles go. Very good stuff, very much believable characters and plot points that are explored throughout. Obviously, this is only book one, so you're not getting the total story in this one single book, but this is a great way to collect it, especially if you don't want to drop big amounts of money on the omnibus or the absolute editions. This being a DC Black Label, obviously is definitely not for kids. It's 100% more adult driven. a more adult-driven story in general. You do have nudity, killing, very much adult themes explored here, but they don't shy away from any detail. They very much go into this what-if kind of scenario in great detail, not shying away at all, and it honestly lends a great hand to the story and makes it feel that much more realistic as you're reading. But I cannot recommend it enough. It is a great story. I think each and every one of you should head on over to Organic Price Books and pick it up for yourself. Give it a try. Because these are coming out in kind of single volumes and they are paperback with a much reduced price in comparison to that omnibus, you can at least get your hands on the first volume, give it a read, see if it's something you want to continue with or look for a different edition for, whatever it may be. So it's a great way to kind of stick your toe into the water to check the temperature. But other than that, I do want to thank you guys for tuning in for this guest review on Why the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan. A super exciting title, one I am a very huge fan of, and I think each and every one of you would very much enjoy it. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below how you feel about the story overall as well, if you're a fan or not. And of course, stay nerdy.